Welcome back to another college football top 25 rankings. Today we got our week one, aka our preseason rankings, because this year we did not predict every single Power 5 team's record like we did last year. But part of that was because I did take a long break. I haven't posted in a couple months, but we're going to be back in full swings. We're going to be doing college football videos every Tuesday. I know this one's coming out on a Wednesday. But they'll be back. Top 25 videos will be back every Tuesday. NFL picks will be back every Wednesday. We're going to get an MLB video out here probably tomorrow, hopefully. And then, yeah, we're going to be, when college basketball and NBA starts up, we're going to be getting those out every week. So we're going to be back full time here on the channel. I apologize for the long break, but without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into these rankings. And starting out at number 25, I'm going to have Kansas State. They were up pretty high for me before this week 0 game against Iowa State. They did lose. I'm not gonna have my week 0 rankings factored in, so it's not like they're moving down. But in my opinion, Kansas State would have been around like 17, 16, 15 range. Kansas State would probably have been my pick to win the Big 12, but now after starting out the season losing to Iowa State, I'm not so sure. Also, their running back Dylan Edwards did get a little banged up. I'm not sure his health there. But in the game against Iowa State, they kind of looked sloppy. Maybe that was just because of the weather. It was a weird Ireland game, first game of the season. Iowa State didn't look all that good either. They did end up winning. But Avery Johnson is the QB here, and I think he has a lot of potential. I think they got a lot of high upside guys on defense. Austin Romaine at middle linebacker. They got a couple other linebackers that I think are pretty solid. J.C. Brown at receiver I think could be interesting. So Kansas State, it's tough to start out the season, kind of losing already. But I think they have enough upside. You look at the schedule, it's not too hard. I mean, Texas Tech could be a tough game. At Baylor's a tough game. Besides that, though, I mean, they could still win the Big 12 very easily. The schedule is not very tough at all. I have them winning their next game against North Dakota 42-7. I think they have a pretty nice bounce back win here. I'm not too worried here. At number 24, I have Boise State. Now, obviously, the big story is no Marashton Jeanty. They lose him, but they bring back a lot of the other guys. Obviously, it's not going to be easy to replace a player like Jeanty, who is the heart and soul of the team. He pretty much did everything for them. Which does obviously suck. You're going to have to replace him. But I think they have some interesting guys here on the team. I think Boise State could be very interesting, obviously. I think Jaden Virgin Morgan, I believe is his name. He's an end for them. He's going to be amazing. They have a left tackle, Cage Casey. That's a cool name, by the way. I think he could be very good. They bring back their tight end from last year, I believe. They bring back a lot of guys besides Jeanty, obviously. Maddox Madsen at QB. I think this team could very well be the Group of 5 team in the playoffs yet again. They could end up being the 12 seed for sure. They do have a tough game at Notre Dame, but besides that, the schedule does look very favorable. At South Florida, I think could actually be a close game. It's on the road. I'm going to say they win, but I think it's going to be closer than you may think. But I do think Boise State gets the job done and gets the win. 23, I have Baylor. This is the only team that the AP poll does not have ranked that I have ranked. I'm very high on Baylor this season. They bring back a lot of their guys from last year. And last year, I believe they finished, if I'm not mistaken, I think they finished on a 6-game win streak to close the season, and a lot of those guys are back. I think Baylor has a lot of things going for them. Now, they have a very tough first 2 weeks, home against Auburn and then at SMU. I don't have Auburn ranked, but I think they are kind of close to being ranked, and they have Jackson Arnold at QB. It's going to be a tough game. They're an SEC team. And then at SMU, I do have ranked as well. They also have Kansas State at home. Home against Utah is not going to be easy. I consider ranking Utah. Home against Arizona State, obviously that's a tough game too. But I think this Baylor offense could be very, very good. Sawyer Robertson at QB, I think, he had a breakout season last year. He passed for over 3,000 yards. I think he could be very interesting. Bryson Washington at running back, Josh Cameron at receiver. I think this offense could very well be an explosive, very explosive offense. That's supposed to the upcoming game is supposed to say home against Auburn because it is at home. So I apologize for that. It's not a road game. It is at home. Um, I think this game could go back and forth. I really do. I think Baylor goes out and wins it. I think they make a statement. I think they come out a little bit more experienced. I think a little, just a little bit more is clicking for Baylor here. And I just think I really think they win this game. I could see Auburn winning for sure. I think they're probably the more talented team, but I think Baylor is the overall more experienced, more, they've been with this team. I mean, last year they finished on a 6-game win streak, and a lot of those guys are back. So I like that for Baylor. I think they have a lot of momentum. I think they could win the Big 12. I think the Big 12 is wide open this year. I think they go out and beat Auburn week 1, make a statement on Friday night. That's going to be a fun game, though. You got to tune in for that. Number 22 is going to be the aforementioned SMU. I think SMU is interesting. I considered not ranking them. I considered ranking them a lot higher. I think SMU is kind of a wild card this season. We'll see what happens with them. Because obviously they bring back Kevin Jennings, which is pretty big. Their quarterback from last year. Um, I'm not sure how you say this guy's name, but Isaiah Nwakobia. He's a safety. He's a really good player as well. He's a senior. He was, just the heart and soul of that defense last year. He allowed only 75 yards last year, which is crazy, by the way. I think he could be very strong for them. They play Baylor, like I said, week 2. That's going to be a fun game. They get it at home. At Clemson's going to be tough. Home against Miami is going to be tough. But besides those 3 games, they have a pretty easy schedule. I think this team could definitely be a dark horse in the ACC. Week 1 against East Texas A&M, I'll say they win that pretty easily. I think Kevin Jennings, they made the playoffs last year. So this team could very well I could be sleeping on them. They could be too low. I mean, I think they were the 11 seed last year in the playoffs. Like, they weren't even the 12 seed. I don't know. Maybe I'm sleeping on SMU. They bring back a lot of their guys. I got them at 22 as of right now, though. 21, I have Ole Miss. And, Ole Miss is kind of a wild card for me. I'm really not sure what to expect from Ole Miss this year. Obviously, Lane Kiffin is going to recruit guys. He's gonna bring in some guys, as always. But yeah, I mean, Ole Miss could be 9-10 wins again. They could be, I don't know. They could be really disappointing this year. Like I said, I feel like they're a huge, huge wild card for me, at least. I honestly have no idea what to expect here. I'm kind of giving them this ranking just out of respect. Suntarine Perkins at linebacker, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He was really good for them last year. He comes back. He had 10.5 sacks last year. I mean, besides him, there's not a lot of like returning guys. It's a relatively new team. Um, Caden Lee at receiver could be nice. Stribling as well at receiver, he could be interesting. Damian Taylor at running back. Um, like, I mean, this team is just really, I'm really clueless. They have Austin Simmons at QB. Um, I don't know. I mean, you look at the schedule they play at Georgia. That's probably going to be a loss. Home against South Carolina. Home against Florida. At Oklahoma. Home against LSU. It's kind of a tough schedule. At Kentucky, week 2 could be tricky as well. We'll see what happens with Ole Miss. I'm going to put them at 21 just out of respect for what they've done the past couple of years, and they've been ranked. Um, they've been ranked for the past many seasons in a row. They finished ranked, and they've been close to the playoffs many times. So I'm going to give them this ranking out of respect, but honestly, I'm not sure what to expect. So I couldn't really tell you much about Ole Miss. I think they beat Georgia State, though, week 1. Number 20 is going to be Texas Tech. Now, Texas Tech is getting a lot of hype right now because of their NIL money. They've spent a whole lot of money on this team, and good for them. They're adjusting to the new era of college football, which is very dependent on NIL. And, I think, like I said, good for them. David Bailey, he comes in from Stanford, I believe. And he was amazing for Stanford last year. He was a D lineman, 7 sacks, 5 forced fumbles. He was really, really solid. They also have a linebacker, Jacob Rodriguez. I believe he's also a transfer. They brought in a lot of transfers. Um, I think Texas Tech could be really really fun this year. They have a really good D line. They also have Lee Hunter at D tackle. I forgot about that. Morton at QB. I think Texas Tech, with all the money they're spending, with all the transfers they brought in, have very high potential. I also think they have a little bit of a lower floor because of that. We'll see. They play at Arizona State, at Kansas State, at Utah. Those are all road games against really tough teams, so those could be hard. But besides that, I think they're in a setup to do pretty well this season. I think they beat Arkansas Pine Bluff. Maybe they start off a little slow just because it's a lot of new guys coming in, but I think they'll be a pretty solid team. I got them at number 20. Number 19, I have Iowa State. They're the only team with a win in the top 25 as of right now, so they got a little bit of a bump. Rocco Becht comes back at quarterback. I think it's always nice when you bring back your quarterback. They did lose Jaden Higgins. They did lose, what was the other guy's name? They had another receiver that went to the NFL. I'm blanking on his name. I think it was Jalen Knoll. That sounds right. It was Knoll. It was something Knoll. But yeah, Rocco Becht comes back. That's obviously huge for them. But they do have to replace two of their receivers. I am a little bit worried about that. But as you can see, the Big 12 is wide open. I have a lot of them filling up this kind of bottom end of the rankings. Jeremiah Cooper at safety is a good player. Jontez Williams at corner. They got some good DBs. Carson Hansen at running back was solid. Um, I think this team could definitely win the Big 12. Like I said, I think the Big 12 is wide open. They have that home game against Iowa. That's going to be a huge game. I thought about ranking Iowa. At Colorado, which could be tricky, but I think they should win that. Home against Arizona State. I mean, this schedule is really favorable. Kansas State was arguably their second hardest game, maybe third if you want to say Iowa's harder. Uh, but I mean, the schedule, you look at it, it looks very favorable. I wouldn't be surprised if Iowa State by the end of the season is playing for that Big 12 championship. They play against South Dakota this week. I think they win pretty easily here. I think they got all the problems out against Kansas State and Ireland in week one. They got all the nerves out, and I think they go out against South Dakota and really have a nice performance here because it was a sloppy game. Maybe that was just because of weather. I think that was part of it. Oklahoma is a very interesting team this season. I think, they have the potential, like I said last year, I believe I said this last year, they have the potential to finish the season, a very, very highly ranked team. I mean, you look at the schedule. If they win half of these tough games, I mean, they are going to be um, potentially a playoff team. Now, the question is, will they win some of these games? Because you look at the schedule, and it's probably the hardest. I think them, Florida, Wisconsin probably have like the three hardest schedules. I mean, just look at the stretch here. They play Michigan week 2, which is already a crazy non-conference game. Home against Auburn, that's a tough game. Jackson Arnold, Coleman at receiver, that's going to be tough. Home against Texas, well, it's neutral site, Red River for week 6. Everything past that, I mean, at South Carolina, that's a ranked team. Home against Ole Miss, I have them ranked. At Tennessee, the AP poll has them ranked, and it's on the road in Knoxville. That's not going to be easy. At Alabama, home against Missouri should probably be a win, but then home against LSU to finish out the year. I mean, that is like a ridiculous schedule. Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama, LSU, and Michigan are all ranked. So that's 7 ranked teams. I think you can make the case Auburn could potentially be ranked at some point this year. That is potentially 8 ranked teams, and you throw in Missouri, and then you throw in the 3 other non-conference teams. I mean, that is a ridiculous schedule. John Mateer, the new QB in town, coming from Washington State. Um, he's gonna have his work cut out for him. Jaden Nott at running back. I think this team has a lot of potential. Like I said, I don't know how many games they win realistically, but I think John Mateer is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. How will he fit here with Venables? We'll see. I think Oklahoma's defense should be better. Yeah, but that schedule, man, is rough. I think they beat Illinois State pretty handily, though. Week 2 against Michigan is going to be fun, though. They get it at home. I could very well see them winning that game. I might pick them to win, honestly. being home in that game. If it was in the big house, I'd probably pick them to lose, but we'll see what happens. We'll get there when week 2 comes around. We'll get there next week. Indiana, I'm going to have at 17. I'm going to give some respect to Curt Cignetti. Last year, obviously Indiana was the breakout team. They bring back Kamara at the end. He's a senior. He had 10 sacks last year. They bring back Aiden Fisher, also a senior. He had 118 tackles last year. They bring back D'Angelo Pons. A lot of the guys come back on defense. Now, obviously, the big problem is, no more Curtis Rourke. And that's obviously the huge story. Will they be able to replace the QB? Because he was a big find for them last year. He came out of the transfer portal. I forget where he transferred in from. But he was a huge find for them. Now they bring in Fernando Mendoza from Cal. Now this is gonna get some hate because Curtis Rourke was amazing. I wouldn't be shocked if Fernando Mendoza was better than Curtis Rourke was last year. I really do. I think Fernando Mendoza probably is the better, more talented player. I think he has a higher potential. Not to mention, I forgot about Elijah Surratt. I think that's how you say his name. Wide receiver for Indiana. He had almost 1,000 yards last year. He was amazing. He came over from James Madison. He's coming back for his senior year. A lot of the guys came back besides Curtis Rourke. I think this Indiana team is going to be a ranked team once again. I don't think they're going anywhere. I think Cignetti's got, he's building something over there, and I'm excited. Now, they do have a much tougher schedule from last year. Obviously, last year, their really only hard game was Ohio State, and Ohio State blew the doors off of them. But this year, they play home against Illinois, who's ranked. At Iowa, that's a very tough game. At Oregon, to follow that up, that is a brutal 3-game stretch. Then they play at Maryland, which could potentially maybe be a trap game, and then at Penn State right after, home against Wisconsin, at Purdue, their rival. I know Purdue's terrible. They should win, but it is a rivalry game, so it means a little bit more. So they have some tough stretches here on the schedule. Illinois, at Iowa, and at Oregon is brutal, and then at Penn State, home against Wisconsin. I mean, they have a much tougher schedule this season. I think they kick off the season, though, with a win against Old Dominion. I'm not too worried about them there. Number 16, I have Texas A&M. I apologize for the score already being up there, but I think you guys would have figured I'm not picking A&M to lose to UTSA. I mean, I guess you never really know, but, most likely I think you guys know that I was not going to pick that. They have Le'Veon Moss at running back. They got some solid guys in the offensive line. York at linebacker, he could be interesting. I'm a little bit, I don't know what to think about A&M. I feel like we do this every year with them. They come in with a lot of potential just because they bring in so many good recruits every year. They have one of the toughest places to play at, for sure. Concepcion, was he on A&M last year? I know he was. Where was he last? Was he on A&M? I feel like he wasn't. Kevin Concepcion. He's a wide receiver though. He's on A&M now, which I think maybe he was. Maybe I'm bugging out and he was there last year. I could totally be wrong about that. But for some reason, I feel like he was on like Baylor or Auburn or something. I believe Marcel Reed is the quarterback, so he played he played some last year. That he was. They had a weird situation going last year at quarterback. But I think A&M could potentially put it together this year. They could make the playoffs, or they could fall apart. They have a tough schedule at Notre Dame, home against Auburn, home against Florida, at LSU, home against South Carolina, at Texas. That's a brutal schedule, but a lot of these teams in the SEC are going to have a tough schedule. A&M could very well. I feel like they have a lot of potential, kind of like Oklahoma. I think they probably have a higher floor than Oklahoma because I think their schedule's a little bit easier, and I think they have a little bit more talent. But they could very well finish like 8-4 again, or like 9-3 and miss the playoffs. Wouldn't be shocked at all there if that happened. Number 15, I think Arizona State is a team deserving for a little bit of discussion here. I think Arizona State is a very interesting team this year. Obviously, the big story, they lose Cam Scatterbo, and that's very tough to replace a player like that. It's a similar thing with Genty, where he was the heart and soul of this team. He was everything for this team. He basically did everything. He was throwing in the playoff game against Texas. He almost beat them single-handedly. He was throwing the ball. He was catching the ball. He was running the ball all over them. Like, he literally almost beat Texas, who was in a close game till the final 2 minutes against Ohio State, where Jack Sawyer got the strip sack, and Ohio State won it all. Like, I feel like people are sleeping on Arizona State. I know they lose him, which is huge, but they bring back Sam Leavitt, who I really believe he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. They bring back Jordan Tyson, who I think is one of the best receivers in the country. Yes, they lose Scatterbo, like I said, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like this team is going to be all right without him. Now, will they be as good? Maybe not. But I don't know. I feel like they bring back a lot of guys. They have Xavier Alford at strong safety as well coming back. I don't know, man. I think they're going to be fine. I really do. I think Sam Leavitt, Jordan Tyson are going to be enough. You look at the schedule. At Mississippi State probably is a win. At Baylor's a tough game. At Utah's a tough game. Texas Tech is a tough game. At Iowa State's a tough game. So they got their work cut out for them. They have 3 of those 4 games I listed are on the road. So we'll see what happens. I think against Northern Arizona they win no problem. I think they come out the gates flying. I think they win 40-10. Now, I think there's a bit of a tier gap here. I think Florida's going to be my next team at 14. Now, they're similar with Oklahoma, similar with A&M, but I think they have the higher potential just because now Oklahoma does have John Mateer, but their schedule is just brutal. I know Florida's schedule is too, but I think DJ Lagway is going to be one of the best QBs in the country. He was a freshman last year, now he's a sophomore. I think that's very exciting. I think they have a lot of guys on the offensive and defensive line that I'm very intrigued about. I mean, Sapp on the edge, Caleb Banks D tackle for them, Eugene Wilson at receiver. I think they got a lot of weapons around DJ Lagway. I think they have a solid defense. Now you look at the schedule and it's brutal, man. Those first 2 weeks, and after those first 2 weeks, it is just ridiculous. At LSU, at Miami, home against Texas, at A&M. Mississippi State should be a win. And then home against Georgia, at Kentucky, could be tricky. You never know. I think they should win, but it could be tricky. At Ole Miss, home against Tennessee, home against Florida State. I know Florida State's not. It's still Florida State. It's still a rivalry game. That's going to be a huge game no matter what. So yeah, man. We'll see what happens with Lagway. We'll see. There's been talks in camp and all this stuff about his injury. That doesn't sound good because he was in and out of the lineup last year. Obviously all the time. But I don't know. I really like what they've got going on the offense and defensive line, and obviously I love Lagway. I think they beat Long Island here pretty easily. I think Lagway goes out and shows out. But yeah, man, once you get to week 3 for Florida, it is just an every week thing. It is ridiculous, the schedule. So we'll see what happens. Number 13 is going to be South Carolina. Now, South Carolina doesn't have the full, what you want, like top to bottom, every position kind of filled out roster. But what they do have is some huge playmakers. Lenora Sellers obviously comes back at quarterback. Dylan Stewart comes back at end. Those are the 2 guys. I mean, one guy off the edge rusher, that's a game wrecker, and then Lenora Sellers can win you a game. I mean, those are 2 probably top 25 players in the country. I mean, those 2, I can't, tell you how good those 2 players are. Lenora Sellers is essentially, I mean, he's essentially Cam Newton. Or like Lamar Jackson. I mean, he's like huge and he runs all over the place. I mean, Cam Newton's actually a good comparison, but Yeah, man. And then Dylan Stewart is probably better than him. I mean, Dylan Stewart might be one of the best. I mean, he is one of the best players in the country. He's probably like top five. No, maybe not top five, but like top 10, maybe. I mean, Dylan Stewart is that good. Top 15 for sure, at least. So, yeah, I think South Carolina will be fine. I think they have the playmakers at the right positions, at important positions, which is very helpful. I think they go into that game at LSU week 6. I think they go into that game undefeated. Then home against Oklahoma, home against Bama, at Ole Miss, at A&M, and then finishing off the year against Clemson. That second half of the schedule is brutal, but I think by that time they'll have all the kinks figured out in the offense. I think they'll have everything figured out, and I think they go into that second half of the schedule trying to get into the playoffs, and I think they have a good chance to. But that second half is very brutal. Uh, Week 1 against Virginia Tech, I think they could be a kind of a close game. I think they'll pull away late though. I got them winning 31-21. Number 12, I have Illinois. Illinois is an exciting team. I actually might go here for college. So obviously that's exciting. Um, seeing the team that I might be rooting for. You guys know I'm an Ohio State fan. I'll never stop doing that. But this could be my other team because it's the school I'd be attending. And I haven't ranked at 12. I mean, when has Illinois ever been ranked this high in the preseason? They're getting a lot of hype, a lot of buzz. It's because Luke Altmaier comes back. I mean, really, just everyone comes back from this team. I mean, it's crazy how many guys they're kind of like, you know, a better version of Baylor in the sense because I think they finished last season. They might have finished the season ranked. I'm not sure. Um, but like a lot of these guys come back. You get J.C. Davis, the left tackle for them. I think he could be very good. Xavier Scott at safety comes back. Gabe Jacas. I'm not sure how you say that name. But he had three forced fumbles last year. He's an outside linebacker. He's a senior. He comes back. Obviously, I already mentioned Luke Altmaier, Matthew Bailey at safety. They just have a lot of exciting guys that are coming back. They're an experienced team, and I think that's why I'm giving them such a high preseason rating. And the schedule is pretty favorable. I mean, at Indiana and home against Ohio State, those are kind of the two games. At Washington could be tricky just because it's a far travel and it's after Ohio State. And then at Wisconsin is always tough. But, like, that's like 4 games. I think they could very well split. I mean, if they go 10-2, are they like a playoff team? Maybe. We'll see what happens. I think against Western Illinois week 1, they should have no problems, though. Number 11, I'm going to have Michigan. Obviously, it pains me to do this as an Ohio State fan, but I actually am pretty, high on Michigan coming into the season. I know as an Ohio State fan, it's painful to say that, but I think they're going to be, once again, one of the best teams in the country. They have Rod Moore at safety still. They have Derek Moore off the edge. And, Justice Haynes at running back. They bring him back over from Alabama. And the quarterback, Bryce Underwood. He's exciting. He is. He was, I believe, the number 1 quarterback. Or maybe the number... No, he was... No, he was the number 1, I think. I think he was number 1. I don't know. Yeah, he was definitely number 1. But yeah, I mean, they bring back a lot of guys from last year. They also lose a lot, especially on the D line, which is going to hurt. But I think they'll be fine. I think we saw what happened in the second half of the season last year. He was their defensive coordinator was figuring out the defense, and that second half of the season they were like a top 5 defense. I think they could very well carry that into this season. Now, a lot of this is going to rely on how good is Bryce Underwood. Justice Haynes is very interesting at running back as well. Obviously, they're on a 4-game win streak against Ohio State. Will they continue that? They have the game in Ann Arbor this year, which is helpful, and the schedule is pretty favorable at MSU. Could be interesting. I think MSU could be a pretty good team, definitely a bowl team this year. So on the road, that could be tough. At USC could be tough. Wisconsin could be tough. At Nebraska could be tough. But like none of these teams are ranked besides Oklahoma week 2 and then Ohio State. So, they do have a lot of road games, though. They only have, I guess they have 6 and 6, but it feels like they have a lot of road games. I don't know. But yeah, I think they're in for a really solid season. I think they could definitely be a playoff team. I think against New Mexico, they go out. The defense looks great. I think Bryce Underwood maybe starts out a little slow. You could maybe bump down maybe like 31-0. But yeah, I have them at 11. I think they're going to be great. Number 10, I have Miami. No more Cam Ward, but welcome Carson Beck. Obviously, that's a bit of a downgrade, but it's not as big of a downgrade as you may think. Carson Beck was serviceable. Um, he's definitely not Cam Ward. I don't think he's going to be the number one pick in the NFL draft. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think he's that good. But I think Miami is once again going to be an exciting team. I think they're going to be competing the entire season. I really like what they have on at right tackle. I'm not sure how you say his last name, but Francis Mauigoa. That might be how you say it. I'm not sure. Bain Jr. off the edge on defense. They got Charles Brantley at corner. They have some really solid DBs. They have a nice running back room. I think this team could once again be a contender in the ACC. I think the ACC is wide open. And obviously I think Carson Beck brings in some experience, which is a good thing. Obviously, we'll see what happens with the turnovers. Will he be able to? Carry, improve that? He's not going to have a lot of time to think about it though, because in a couple days they're going to be welcoming Notre Dame, the reigning runner-up, down into their stadium, Hard Rock Stadium. And they're going to have a top 10 team coming to town week 1 on their hands. They also play home against Florida week 4 at FSU, at SMU, at Pitt could be a little tricky. Syracuse could be a little tough. Louisville is always tough. They have kind of a tough schedule. So we'll see what happens with Carson Beck. I think they could. I actually think Miami could win this game. I think people are counting them out a little bit too much. I think Miami could definitely win this game. I really wouldn't be shocked. Carson Beck comes in with experience. He's a senior. He was very inconsistent, and then he got injured. But I don't know, man. Last year people were talking about Beck as a first-round pick. Now I don't think so anymore. We'll see what he does this year. But I think they could very well win this game against Notre Dame. I wouldn't be shocked. I'm going to pick Notre Dame just because I think they're a little bit more consistent. I trust their coaching. I trust Marcus Freeman a little bit more. I think Notre Dame's defense will be able to contain them. And I think if it's a game in the 20s, which I think it will be, Notre Dame will win. If it, goes to a game in the 30s, then I think Miami could win. But I don't think it will. I think Notre Dame plays their way. I think they run the ball with Jeremiah Love. And I just think they have a little bit more playmakers on offense that I trust. I am a little worried about the QB situation, but Miami might have the edge right now. But I think Notre Dame has the playmakers. They have the coaching to get the win. But it is, on the road, so we'll see what happens. This game is going to be very interesting. It's Sunday, too. Sunday night, which is going to be fun. Number 9. Now I think we're entering the tier of the teams that I think could win it all. I really do. I think Alabama can win it all. Kalen DeBoer's a great coach. We've seen him make a national championship before. They have Ryan Williams at receiver. He's one of the best players in the country. Caden Proctor on the O-line. That's obviously huge. He's going to be absolutely phenomenal. Deontay Lawson at linebacker. Overton on the D-line. I mean, their O-line is just really, really strong. And yeah, I think this team could definitely win it all. I really wouldn't be shocked if they did. At FSU, week 1 is kind of tough. I think they should win. I think they'll be fine. At Georgia, week 4 is huge, huge, huge. I think Georgia's going to be really, really upset that they lost that game last year. I think Georgia probably wins that game. They also play Wisconsin week 3, part of the home and home. Home against Tennessee, at South Carolina, home against LSU, home against Oklahoma. That's a pretty tough 4-game stretch, and then they close out at Auburn. I wouldn't be shocked if Auburn actually won that game. So I'm saying they can win it all, and I'm already giving them 2 losses. Well, I won't give that. I think Georgia one is probably a loss. And then South Carolina, Tennessee, LSU, Oklahoma. I feel like there's got to be a loss in there, and I think they could lose at Auburn. So maybe I'm lying. Like I could see them finishing 9-3. I just part of it is I feel like they have to win just because it's Bama. Like I feel like DeBoer has to make the playoffs, and I don't know if 9-3 does. So we'll see. I think they could win it all though. Ty Simpson had QB. I forgot to mention him. He could be interesting. We'll see what happens with him. For week one at FSU, I think they win. I think it's a little bit close early. I think Alabama settles in though. I think they figure it all out, and I think they're going to be just fine against Florida State. Florida State, I'm not really worried about them, to be honest, like at all. I don't think they're going to be much this year. They won 2 games last year. Now, obviously, it's a new season, new team, but I'm not too worried. At number 8, I'm going to have LSU. LSU is really fun. I've seen some people saying they can win it all. I do believe that. I think the top 9 teams could all win it all this year, which is kind of crazy. Usually you don't say that. You usually have like 2, 3, maybe 4, 5 teams that can win it all. This year I think there's 9. I really do. They bring back Garrett Nussmeier. I think besides Cade Klubnik, he's probably the best QB in the country. They bring back Harold Perkins. He's going to be healthy. That's obviously a huge guy to bring back. Linebacker. He only played 4 games last year, which is pretty brutal. But, I mean, they have weeks at linebacker as well. Their linebacker room is one of the best in the country. They have Aaron Anderson at receiver. Came over from Alabama last year. He played amazing for LSU. He had almost 900 yards. He had that fourth quarter touchdown against Ole Miss. That game was an amazing game. Caden Durham at running back. Nick Anderson at receiver. I mean, they got a lot of weapons. Barian Brown at receiver. This offense is going to be explosive once again. They also have a deep RB room. And I think the defense, as long as it serves, I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if Harold Perkins is all that, if Whit Weeks is I mean, this defense could be good. They have the talent. I think they just got to put it together. I think LSU could very well win it all. I think I trust Garrett Nussmeier to do so. Do I trust Brian Kelly? That might be, I don't know. We'll see. But like, I feel like this is the year for them. He's got to do something, or else I think he's fired. Like, if they go 9-3, he's probably fired. He left Notre Dame to come here to win it all, to get that top tier talent, and he has that this year. I think he has to do something with it. Now, week 1 at Clemson, that's a brutal week 1 matchup. They play Florida week 3 at home, at Ole Miss week 5, home against South Carolina, home against A&M, at Bama, at Oklahoma. I mean, it's I will say, for an SEC schedule, it's not the hardest. You get A&M, you get South Carolina at home. Now, at Ole Miss, at Bama is tough. At Oklahoma could just be a non-factor by then. I mean, you never know. You get Florida at home. Like, it's a manageable schedule. I think LSU could very well be playing in Atlanta for the SEC championship. I wouldn't be shocked at all. But week 1 at Clemson is brutal. You're going up against, I said Garrett Nussmeier is probably my QB2 this year. QB1 in the country, I think, is Cade Klubnik. I really do. And I think that Clemson defense is going to be stacked. They bring back so many guys. I think they brought back 16 starters from last year. I think that experience, they get it at home. It's a night game. It's the battle of who's the real Death Valley. I think I like Dabo more as a coach. All the signs are pointing towards Clemson for me. I think LSU keeps it close just because of the talent that they have. But, I mean, Clemson has T.J. Parker. Clemson has Cade Klubnik. Who else is their guy? Peter Woods. I mean, like, this Clemson team is ridiculous this year. I mean, those are arguably, like, 3 top 10 players on their team. And like I said, they bring back 16 starters. I just think they have the experience. They get it at home. It's a night game. Now, LSU has experience, too. Garrett Nussmeier is experienced. But I think Clemson has more of that. I like their coaching more. I think they win week 1. But LSU could definitely win it all. Wouldn't be shocked. Georgia, at number 7, I'm going to respect Kirby Smart. Now, look at the roster. It's still very talented, obviously. Not saying it's not. But it's not as talented, I would say, as previous years. I think this year is kind of a question mark for Georgia. Now, I'm giving them this ranking out of respect, like I said. But like Gunnar Stockton at QB, like he's not even Stetson Bennett level. Like Georgia's shown they don't need top tier QB play to win it all, but you need like serviceable. I don't think Gunnar Stockton is like I think Carson Beck was better. That might be a hot take. I think Jake Fromm was better. I think Stetson Bennett was better. You know what I'm saying? I think Gunnar Stockton is could be a problem. He did play in the playoff games last year, so we'll see. They bring in Zachariah Branch. That's a huge addition. I love that for them. He's going to be a playmaker for them. Just off rip, Nate Frazier at running back is going to be fun. Oscar Delp at tight end. Like they still have a lot of talent, obviously, and then the defense is going to be good once again. But like at Tennessee week 3, that's crazy. Following up with home against Bama, week 6 at Auburn, week 7 home against Ole Miss, week 8 home against Florida, week 10 at home against Texas. It's a tough schedule now. They only have 3 true road games. I know like some of them are neutral site and whatever. Georgia Tech is going to be a tough team as well. I think Georgia Tech could win that game. Like it's a tough schedule, but they benefit heavily from only 3 true road games. Kirby Smart's always complaining about that. Well, he's only got 3. I think they win against Marshall pretty handily, though. Number 6, I have Notre Dame. Notre Dame is going to be interesting. There's a lot of question marks coming into the season. Like Bama, I don't think LSU's as much of a question mark as just can the defense be good and do I trust Brian Kelly. But like Bama, Georgia, Notre Dame less so. Like Oregon, you could throw in the question mark tier. Like I'm not sure what to expect. You could even throw Ohio State in there. I might not do that, but you could. Now, Notre Dame is. I'm trusting Marcus Freeman. They made the national championship last year, and he's shown that he can win. Now, they lost to Northern Illinois last year, which was really strange. But they bring back Jeremiah Love, one of the best players in the country. Leonard Moore comes back, one of the best players in the country, running back and corner respectively. They bring back a lot of guys on defense. They bring back Jaden Greathouse. They brought back pretty much everyone except Riley Leonard. They also have Devonta Smith at corner. That's funny. But yeah, the big question mark here is quarterback. Will C.J. Carr be up to par? And that rhymed, but will he be able to fill the shoes of Riley Leonard? Because Riley Leonard obviously wasn't anything special, but he was a leader. He got the job done. He was serviceable. Will he be able to do that? We'll see. I mean, they have a tough schedule for Notre Dame standards. They have a pretty tough schedule at Miami, home against A&M week 1 and week 2. Those are 2 ranked teams. They got week 5 against Boise. They got USC. That's a big rivalry game. At Pitt could be tricky. Syracuse could be tricky. At Stanford, that's a big rivalry. Like, they have a pretty tough schedule. Like I said earlier, I think they beat Miami, though, just because of the playmakers. Jane Greathouse, Leonard Moore on the defense, Jeremiah Love, I think, runs all over the Miami defense. Maybe not all over, but I think he'll make some big plays and really help Notre Dame to control this game. I just think their defense, especially in their coaching, I like a little bit more. So I do think they win, but it could be tricky. That's supposed to say at Miami, by the way. It is not a home game. Number 5, I have Oregon. Oregon, again, a lot of question marks here, but I trust Dan Lanning. They were the 1 seed. I know people will forget that because Ohio State just blew the doors off of them after they figured out Jeremiah Smith was on the team and they could utilize him. Then Ohio State was just ridiculous last year. But Oregon is back and better than ever. Obviously, Evan Stewart being out for the season is just a terrible loss. But Decorian Moore, the freshman, comes in, and he's going to have to really step into that role. And I think I have a prediction. I think he could be this year's Ryan Williams. I think he could potentially be better than Ryan Williams was last season. I think he'll be that good. Mekhi Hughes takes over for Jordan James. He's coming in from Tulane. He was pretty solid for Tulane last year. I think he's a physical running back. He was, he broke a lot of tackles. I think that's a huge add for them. Mateo Yu, I'm just going to say Yu. It's Iungale. It's one of those last names. He's a DN for them though. No disrespect to him, obviously he's a phenomenal player. 10.5 sacks last year. I think he's going to be one of the best players in the country. Um, they bring back. Uh, they Oregon's very interesting. I'm gonna trust Dan Lanning and the playmakers they have. They have Bear Alexander as well. He was there last year, I believe. Um, they have obviously great trench play. Dylan Thieneman, I think that's how you say his name. He comes in from Purdue, I believe. Strong safety. He's going to be a great playmaker. The question is, how good will the quarterback play be? It's not going to be as good as Dylan Gabriel, I'm assuming, but Dante Moore comes in from UCLA. He started there for a while. He got to sit behind Dylan Gabriel last season, learn the offense. Dante Moore started as a freshman for UCLA. How good will he be? I think he was a top recruit. Like, he has all the potential in the world. You look at the schedule at Penn State is like kind of the only game. At Iowa could be tough. Indiana, Wisconsin can maybe be tough at Washington, but like Oregon's probably a playoff team. Like at worst, they probably go 10-2. I think Oregon will be just fine this year though. Montana State, no troubles at all. Number 4, Clemson. I think I said 9 teams. All the top 9 teams could win it all. I think the top 4 are probably the favorites to win it all. I think that's fair to say. Clemson. They bring back 16 of their 22 starters from last season. They have 3 top 10 players in the country in Cade Klubnik, who I believe is the best quarterback in the country, which is very, very important. I think he's a top 5 player in the country. TJ Parker at D-line. And then Peter Woods also at D-line. I mean, it's... I think this team is going to be ridiculous. I think Dabo Swinney has the chance to silence everybody this season. I think Dabo could very well win his 3rd national championship. If I had to pick a team right now, I might pick Clemson to win it all. Like, I'm not kidding. There's only 3 active coaches that have won national championships, and that's Dabo, Kirby Smart, and Ryan Day. I think Dabo could very well win his 3rd this season. Now they have a kind of a tough start to the schedule, though. Home against LSU, that's a brutal start. That is a tough LSU team. At Georgia Tech, week 3 could be sneaky. Georgia Tech is a dark horse for the ACC. Home against SMU, I mean, the second half of the schedule is very light. Besides at South Carolina, that could be a tough game. So they have like 3, 4, 5. Syracuse could be tough. So like 3, 4, 5 tough games in there. I think Clemson could very well go 12-0, though. And like I said, I think if I had to pick a team to win it all, it would be Clemson, just because of the amount of returning starters. So like I said, I do have them beating LSU week 1, 31-27, just because of that experience, and I trust the coaching a little bit more. But could LSU win? For sure. But I'm going to take the home team at night here in the Clemson Tigers. Number 3, I'm going to have my Ohio State Buckeyes. This is my favorite team, as many of you may know. Week 1, they got Texas. Just a ridiculous opening game. Maybe the best opening game we've ever seen. I mean, I know we've never seen 1 versus 2. The AP poll could have done it. They could have done it. If they really like Penn State that much, they could have just put them over the loser next week. I'm just saying, but yeah, they get it in the shoe. It's going to be a noon game. Unfortunately, it's not going to be a night game. Ohio State kind of has a tough schedule this year. Last year, I guess they played Oregon. But like Texas week 1, at Washington could be tricky just because of the travel. At Illinois, at Wisconsin, Penn State, all back to back to back. That's a tough 3-game stretch. And then you get at Michigan to close out the year. Michigan will definitely be better than they were last year, and I think Ohio State will be worse than they were last year. And Michigan won last year, and it's on the road instead of at home. That's not a good recipe. Do I think Ohio State loses 5 games in a row? At this point, I don't even know, which pains me to say. I would have loved to say no. Like, Jeremiah Smith is still on the team. They still have Sonny Styles. They still have Igbenogson. Like, they bring back a lot of guys. They still have Caleb Downs, Carnell Tate. They bring in Max Claro, I think could be the best tight end in the country. And then quarterback is obviously the big question with Julian Sayin. How good will he be? C.J. Donaldson at running back is a transfer from West Virginia, I believe. I think he's their starter. They have 2 tackles that I am interested in. But obviously, they lose pretty much their entire D-line. which does suck. But I think they have a lot of high upside young guys in there. Edric Houston is a guy to know. Um, but yeah, Sonny Styles. I think that linebacker room is one of the best. Arvell Reese is really good as well. I think that linebacker room is one of the best in the country. I think um, what's their Brandon Innes? I think could be interesting. They have Mylan Graham on the bench. They got a lot of receivers, as you know. It's Ohio State. Now, what's the story for Week 1? Arch Manning versus Sand, both making, well, I guess Arch wouldn't be his first start, but Sand making his first start. It's going to be in the shoe, though, which I think is a tremendous advantage for Ohio State. If they had to travel to Texas to play this game, I don't think there's any world they could win. I think Texas is that good. Now, the fact that it's in the shoe is very intriguing. Ohio State will. I forgot. Ohio State will also have to replace Chip Kelly, offensive coordinator. They have Brian Hartline in there now, and then Jim Knowles at DC. They bring in Matt Patricia. He's kind of an NFL guy, so how quick will he adjust? We'll see. I really hope Day doesn't go back to calling the plays because he just gets too conservative. I mean, Chip Kelly was amazing last year as the play caller. We'll see what happens. Brian Hartline, I think, as a receiver coach, he will try to utilize Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, which is what they should be doing. And I think if they get down in this game, they could just start throwing it. They could just start chucking it to Jeremiah Smith. I think they got to get him involved no matter what in this game. I think Texas wins, though. I do. I think Arch Manning just makes a couple more plays, really, than Julian Sand. I think Anthony Hill is going to have a great game for Texas. I think Colin Simmons is going to get to Sand at least once. I think he's that good of a player. And I just think Texas does it. I think Texas gets the win. I think they stay as the number one team in the AP poll. Will they be number one in mine? We'll see. But they also have Malik Muhammad coming back at corner. I forgot to even mention him. He is huge. I'm not sure how you say this guy's name. He's a safety, though, for Texas. Michael Taffy. Texas is that team this year. I think this year could be Texas's year. Could it be next year? Sure. They have Wisner as well. Quintrivion Wisner. And they're gonna have the mindset of, well, Ohio State beat us in the playoffs last year. We got to come back and beat them. This was the last game Texas played. They're gonna want to win this game more than anything. I think they do. I really hope Ohio State wins. If they go out and beat Texas and Sand looks great, they could potentially go back to back. That's not crazy to say, but I think Texas does win. Number 2, I'm gonna have Penn State. I've seen a lot of people put them at 1. Which I think is fair. I think that's fair. I think you could. I'm going to reserve on that a little bit. A lot of people are saying Ohio State should be ahead of Penn State just because they always beat them. I think it's a little unfair. Drew Aller comes back. Nick Singleton comes back. Katron Allen comes back. Denied Dennis Sutton. He comes back. Abdul Carter goes to the NFL. And he is going to be now that kind of Abdul Carter fill-in for Penn State. Katron Allen, I forgot if I mentioned him already. Zane Durant at D-tackle. I mean, the D-line is going to be, once again, one of the best in the country. The O-line is always solid for Penn State. They have 2 running backs and Drew Aller coming back as well. Zakee Wheatley, I think that's how you say his name. Safety. This Penn State team is going to be ridiculous. I think if there's any year for James Franklin to get over the hump and win those big games, it's going to be this year. Now, they play Oregon at home week 4. I really could see them winning that game. At Iowa could be a trap game because they play at Ohio State. But, those are their 3 games. This is a very easy schedule. I think they will beat Oregon. I think James Franklin will finally do it. There's a real world where Penn State goes 12-0. Will they get over the hump against Ohio State? I think that's the question that all their fans are asking, and we'll see. It's on the road, which is going to be very tough. We'll see how Sand is playing at that point because that'll be week 8 by then. That'll be deep into the season. But yeah, man, I think Penn State's in for a great year. I think they could definitely win the Big Ten. It's all dependent on James Franklin. Can he get over the hump? But they have Jim Knowles in there at DC now. I think that's that's huge for them. I think that's going under the radar. I think that's a huge addition. I think he is really that good as a defensive coordinator. Nevada, I think they win no problem. And then the number one team in the country is going to be Texas. We kind of already went into depth about them, but they bring back a lot of guys. They lose Quinn Ewers, but Arch Manning has the potential to be better than Quinn Ewers ever was. I think Anthony Hill is potentially one of the best players. Well, he is one of the best players. I think he's potentially the best player. I'd probably put him at 3 behind Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs. But he is that good. I think Colin Simmons is that good. I think Arch Manning will be good. I know some people have doubts because he hasn't really started all that much, But he's the full-time starter. He is the guy now. He played at some points last season, so he has a little bit of experience. That upcoming game is supposed to be at Ohio State. I apologize for that. But like I said, you guys already know. I think Texas will win. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think it's going to be a 1-point game. I think Texas will win. You look at the schedule, though. We kind of already talked about Texas. Malik Muhammad comes back as well. That's obviously huge. At Ohio State, at Florida, home against Oklahoma, at Georgia, home against Texas A&M. I mean, it's a pretty easy schedule for SEC standards. I mean, one of the easier probably. But at Ohio State, week 1 is kind of like giving them a bump in the schedule, obviously, because that might be like the hardest non-conference game you could open with. At Ohio State, the defending champs. I mean, I'm so excited for this week 1. I know you guys are too, and I had to get to you guys this top 25 rankings. I'm so excited to be back. We're going to be back, like I said, every week with college football, every week with NFL. We're going to get an MLB video here soon, I promise. I know it's been a long time since we made them, and that season, there's so much to talk about with baseball. Make sure you subscribe if you're new, turn on the noties. Comment down below what you agree, what you disagree. What are your week 1 predictions, kind of hot takes? Love to hear that down there. But with all that being said, that is going to do it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys with another video very, very soon.